Hello and welcome into today's edition of the Arizona State Sun Devils Insider Podcast. My name is Kevin Hicks, and I am your lead beat writer for Arizona State Sun Devils on SI. And I'm so grateful to be joining you on this beautiful Monday afternoon, just a few hours removed from Kenny Dillingham's weekly scheduled press conference with Arizona State media ahead of Arizona State's massive Big 12 opener against the Baylor Bears. As Sun Devil fans know, the 34-15 win over Texas State is just the beginning. Just was an appetizer for what is to come early in Big 12 play for the Sun Devils as they open up on the road in Waco against Baylor and their very potent offense. We will discuss some things that Coach Dillingham had to say about Baylor. Then they come back home less than a week later and face the TCU Horned Frogs, a very underrated Big 12 squad that we've discussed at length here in the uh, lead up to the regular season, during the off season, and it's just it just keeps getting more and more difficult after that. They play Utah on the road, at home against Texas Tech. The first 4 games of Big 12 play will go a massive way to indicating what Arizona State's season will look like, what their ceiling can look like, and everything in between. And I'm so grateful to be covering each and every step of the Arizona State season for all of you, because of all of you, and with all of you. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So, Dillingham really um talked about a wide range of topics. I don't even know where to start, truthfully. There was a lot of ground that was covered. I kind of want to start talking about what Baylor presents, what challenges Baylor presents Arizona State. So he got asked a question about Sawyer Robertson, and he was very complimentary to the star quarterback. He really hammered down the fact that he recruited Sawyer coming out of high school. He decided to go and play for Mike Leach at Mississippi State. Unfortunately, there were some untimely circumstances that happened there, and he ended up transferring to Baylor. And 2024 really established him as one of the premier quarterbacks in the Big 12 Conference. So far this season, he's established himself as a Heisman contender. It depends really on what Baylor does this season, but he has been one of the best players in college football through 3 weeks this season. And if the Baylor defense can hold up enough, who's to say they cannot win the Big 12? Who's to say that Sawyer Robertson cannot be in the Heisman conversation? And Dillingham has some great things to say about him. He's accurate, he's tall, he's really tall, so he can see over the line, he can make throws over the middle of the field really well. He's super intelligent, he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. He said, I saw him throw live out of practice back in high school and was really blown away. He's a really good player, and he's going to be a big challenge for us. So Sawyer Robertson is probably one of the players that makes the best match for Sam Leavitt during Big 12 play. Obviously, you also have Josh Hoover the week after. Like I said, you'll have Devin Dampier down the road. You'll have Rocco Beck down the road. But Sawyer Robertson's probably the quarterback that's closest to eclipsing Sam Leavitt in the Big 12 hierarchy at the moment. And you add in a tight end such as Michael Trigg, a great wide receiving core, a pretty good running game to balance out the passing attack. And Baylor is a challenge. There's no doubt about that. And that's a perfect segue into what Coach Dillingham had to say about Coach Dave Aranda's defense. Dave Aranda took over Baylor in 2020. They've kind of had up and down results. It's been a mixed bag since he took over. There's been some really strong highs and some pretty depressing lows. But it looks like the program is back on track now. Aranda has a squad that's built up to compete in the Big 12, and Dillingham really had to praise him and the defensive coordinator. His name is escaping my mind. My apologies, but he talked about how they're really big up front on the defensive line. They are really good at creating pressure from any spot at the line of scrimmage. They're really good at creating deception, uh, like rushing five when it looks like you're going to rush six. Really good at hiding coverages, and there's a lot of challenges that the Baylor defense can present to Arizona State. They haven't really been consistent during non-conference play as a defense, but there are some high-level athletes, and Dave Aranda does have a very impressive track record when it comes to doing such things in big games, especially in 2021 when he won the Big 12 with Baylor. So that's something that certainly Sun Devil fans should keep an eye on heading into Saturday's matchup. So the last two things that I really wanted to talk about before ending today's show have to do with recruiting and Man Robinson. That's really the last two things. So he really, Jordan Ham of Sports 360 Arizona asked Coach Dillingham about the Texas pipeline and how important the next few games are, largely against Texas opponents. And Dillingham really said, he also asked him what he looks for in recruits, and Dillingham really had to say, I mean, toughness, love for the game. That's where what I look for in recruits everywhere. But we know the focus has been in Texas over the last several months. Brian Carrington has done a phenomenal job as somebody who knows the Texas landscape inside and out. They already have 8 commits, I believe. It's at least 7 in the 2026 class that are out of the state of Texas, including Jake Fede. And they have established themselves as a real threat in the state. And I really do believe that the next few games will go a long way towards continuing that pipeline, continuing to build it up, continuing to establish themselves as a real threat in the region. And we shall see what happens against Texas Tech, who has really established themselves as a real threat to sign some of those top recruits as well. It will be interesting to see how things transpire. And I wanted to close out today's episode talking about Man Robinson. Uh, Kanye Udo, Raleek Brown have been the two most prominent backs in the room over the last 2 weeks because Kyson Brown missed most of the Mississippi State game and all of the Texas State game. But Man Robinson got 5 carries in the closing minutes of the game against Texas State as a true freshman, and Dillingham really had great things to say about him. He said, yeah, he's a worker. I showed him clips all spring about having more ball security, and I literally stood in front of the team and I said, watch this dude. He will have good ball security by fall camp because it matters to him, because he cares. And he went into detail talking about how he really attacks the run the right way. He always fights for extra yards. His run style is unique. He really hammered down the fact that he puts in consistent work, and although it's unlikely that he'd eclipse Raleek Brown, Kyson Brown, or Kanye Udo on the depth chart this season, there's a chance he could factor in next season. I mean, Udo is a junior, Raleek Brown is a junior, Kyson Brown is a junior. All three are juniors, but there's a possibility Kyson Brown goes to the league if he has a strong enough season. I'm never going to rule that out. There's the possibilities are endless, and that's not even without mentioning Jason Brown Jr., who was a 4-star recruit in last year's recruiting class. The running back room is in phenomenal hands with Sean Aguano. Sun Devil fans should feel very confident in whatever group they push forward at any given week. And Baylor is going to be a whale of a game. I am very stoked to be covering the Sun Devils each and every week for you. And that is really all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you tomorrow.